Boom goes the dynamite. Or is it boom shakalaka boom? Either way, we're here live on 103.9 FM. WYAB. Streaming worldwide, live in stunning HD at Save JXN on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. At Save JXN. I think on Rumble you can also search at Clay Edwards Show. Man, we've accumulated a lot of X followers, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Let's put the X in. Little forgotten Kiss song from the 80s there. Anyhow, accumulated a lot of followers on X the last few weeks. That is a hard platform to get traction on. Always has been for me. Because it's a bunch of people who all think they do the same thing. Generally speaking, everybody on X is somebody that wants to be somebody. So it's a hard place to get traction. It's a lot of media types tweeting or posting to other media types. So your posts have to really be, good's not the word I'm looking for. But they have to be very polarizing and set yourself apart over there. I have learned that I would much rather be popular amongst normies than I would other media types. But it is a great place to go and do show prep and stuff of that nature. And every now and then we'll get something that goes viral. Like some really bad news yesterday we'll get to here in just a second. Posted a video and went nuclear viral over there. Got retweeted by Cat Turd. As I was telling my girlfriend and daughter last night, I was like, I got retweeted or whatever by Cat Turd. And trying to explain to them how Cat Turd is a very popular figure in conservative Twitter sphere. I just stopped about a third of the way through trying to explain how popular Cat Turd was and what a big deal it was to get retweeted, reposted, or whatever by Cat Turd, and just realized that there was no explaining this to people who don't understand this, aka normies. Like, really, y'all get y'all's reliable, conservative information from a character named Cat Turd. I think, as a matter of fact, we do, and it's still more reliable than CNN and some of these other local news outlets around here. So, or most all mainstream media. Let's just be honest. So, your boy did get retweeted by Cat Turd, which made the post inevitably go nuclear viral, and now it's sitting at over 3 million views. Unfortunately, it's the most depressing, one of the more depressing tweets I've ever sent out or post or whatever. I just don't like calling them tweets because it ain't Twitter no more, so I keep going back and forth. Is it a tweet? Is it a post? Is it a retweet? Is it a share? We're a couple years into this thing now and still hadn't quite landed on calling it X all the way and not calling them retweets. But got some really bad news yesterday. I mean, we all did. I was driving home from here and just happened to sit at the red light and grab my phone as normal because I have a social media addiction, I reckon. And I think I was like one of the first few people to see the post. So you can download posts if they have it set where you can download from Instagram. So I just downloaded the post and reshared it. And a guy that I've known for over 25 years, Brad Arnold, the lead singer for Three Doors Down, posted a video on there. And I was like, what's Brad saying? And I said, well, guys, we got a, why tell y'all? Well, I can just let him tell you. But while I set this up, Brad announced that he has stage 4 cancer. Long story short, carcinogenic, something along those lines. They discovered it a couple weeks ago, and they had to cancel their upcoming tour. But this post hit really hard because I've known these guys for a long time, and their early success helped my early success as a promoter in the nightclub business. I built a good relationship with their management team, Kenny Vest, who runs WCPR down on the coast, and he ended up managing 12 Stones, who I just brought to town here recently, and Adam Ship, who was from the coast, also got signed to Wind Up Records along with 12 Stones, and that was the same label that Creed and so many other great bands were on there in the early 2000s, mid-2000s. Evanescence, Seether, so on and so forth. And Three Doors Down was signed to Universal. But I built that relationship with them, so anytime Three Doors Down was in and around Jackson or in Mississippi, I was able to make a phone call, and we were always got the hook up backstage, on stage in some cases, the Miller Lite Crawfish Bowl here in Jackson. Got to watch that from the side of the stage. But what it did was it helped me build a relationship and get up-and-coming bands to come out to Crazy 8 or 105 or wherever we were doing shows, Howlin' Mouse at the time, such as 12 Stones, Atom Ship. And anytime Three Doors Down came and played the Coliseum, we were able to be the official Three Doors Down after party. And it all kind of came to a crescendo when Nickelback and Three Doors Down played at One Jackson Place before they built those buildings there. And that was literally right across the street from my club. And they were staying at the Edison Walthall there. My friend Farrah was running that, or very, very plugged in there at the time. And they used my club as a green room, basically, for all the bands. It was just really cool. And we got to experience that show in a VIP when they weren't even selling VIPs, and got to do some really cool stuff. And the man just always treated me really well. Now, I'm not saying Brad could point me out of a lineup, but I have a funny story. He came down to 105 one night when he was living out on the reservoir for a little while. He lived like right over there in the Palisades or something, one of those neighborhoods right across the causeway there on the Rankin side of the reservoir for a while. And I remember he had a little Lexus sports coupe, and he just decided to come to the club one night, and he called me, and I was like, well, he's like, can you meet me outside or get security or somebody? I was like, yeah, I'll just come down there. So we came down there, and this was at the downtown club, the Jackson Club, 105, and got him in. I had my little back office / VIP room, or whatever you want to call it. It was just a back office that I had converted into. I put a couch back there and a 60-inch old school big screen TV. Now, keep in mind, this is 2003, 2004, somewhere in that neighborhood. So we're at the peak of Three Doors Down fame here. I mean, these guys are one of the biggest bands rock bands on the planet at this time. And also 60-inch big screen TVs were still cool. You know, if you had a big 60-inch, I mean, a flat screen TV, a plasma TV at that time cost $7,000 or $8,000 for like a 42-inch. So not too many people had gotten into the world of plasma TVs yet. But anyways, we had a big screen TV back there, and we used to play Need for Speed Underground a lot. So I remember we get him in, and we're back there. We're drinking, partying. You know, he liked to smoke at the time, and we I remember him smoking. But I remember the ABC, my old buddy Andy and them from the ABC came in to mess with us that night, and I'd taken the night off, so to say, because I wanted to party with the rock star, literally. And I remember they came back. They're like, Clay, get out here and talk to us. I'm like, what? I'm off tonight. They're like, you're on the liquor license. You're never off. I'm like, gosh, dang it. So somebody had snuck out the building with a beer pitcher or something. I'm like, I don't care. I'm having a good time. I'm not worried about somebody sneaking out of here with a beer pitcher. I'll have a conversation with Securita later about that. But anyway, that's really just the peak of that conversation there. But he hadn't dead. I don't want to speak about him in past tense, but he's just a really cool, down to earth, humble dude to have been as successful as he has with Three Doors Down. And he's written other songs for other people as well. Then inevitably, I guess when he got divorced, he moved out to Nashville and married the girl he's with now. And they do a lot of rodeoing and stuff like that. And Three Doors Down has maintained relevancy, not as much on the current, music charts or whatever, but they've never played much smaller than big theaters. I think the lowest end of their fame, they played Thalliamore Hall and 2,500, 3,000 seat venues like that. And then over the last few years, there's been a resurgence in nostalgia of post-grunge rock, bands like Three Doors Down, Creed, Nickelback, etc., making really big comebacks. I mean, not that they ever really lost, especially like Nickelback, not that they ever lost momentum. I mean, even when everybody said that Nickelback sucked, they were still selling out 20,000 seat arenas. So beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess. I was never not a Nickelback fan, and I think most people, if they're being honest, would be like, oh, yeah, I love Nickelback. Anyway, man, but Brad announced that he had stage 4 cancer yesterday, and it just hit hard, man, because I just think back over the years of just my success and the association with those guys and their management team and everything they did for me through that time. The original bass player, Todd, had started a record label, and it was tied in with the Budweiser True Music stuff, and we did the True Music Battle of the Bands here, and the winner of that, but they ended up doing the main event down on the coast outside one of the casinos. I think my boys in Storage 24, they may have been called Blindside at the time, Baby Fred and them, I think they played in that. It was outside one of the casinos, pre-Katrina, mind you. Anyway, man, it just always had a good relationship with those guys. They really treated folks from other parts of Mississippi like it's part of the family, and they really did try to help other folks come up. And like I said, we always had the after parties. I remember they played the Coliseum one time. We had the after party at Crazy 8. And Nate West showed up riding in the back of the truck with one of the opening bands. Was it Shinedown, maybe? I think it was Three Doors Down, Shinedown, and Atom Ship. I may have that a little off. I had to ask Nate, but they showed up riding in the back of the truck from the Coliseum out there to Crazy 8, and 12 Stones was playing, Atom Ship played. Yeah, 12 Stones was playing with Three Doors Down at the Coliseum. Atom Ship was my headliner that night, and that was Joey Culver, rest in peace, Joey. And the 12 Stones got on stage and rocked out with them. It was just a really cool, fun, big night out there, especially for Byron, Mississippi, to have these bands that just headline the Coliseum to come out there and do an after party. You know, for a kid that grew up out that way, I was amazed at what I'd pulled off. But it was because of that relationship with Kenny Vest and Three Doors Down and everybody that made that happen. And I've always been really grateful and appreciative and stayed in touch with those guys the best I could over the years. I'm trying to get this pulled up here. I'm trying to get this video pulled up here of Brad's announcement, and I'm trying to make sure it'll play right. You know, we had some issues with that the other day. Let's see if this will. Here we go. Let's get it pulled over here. I got to do this so the online audience can hear it too. I know I tell y'all that every day, but I like to explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. The Guns and Gear text line is 769-241-1944. The Mazda of Jackson phone line is 601-879-0002. Let's play Brad's, and I think my fellow Christians out there will really appreciate the way he did this announcement, his lack of fear facing what some would call sure death, and his humbleness. It's phenomenal. Like I said, it really hit hard. I had to pull over on the side of the road, if I'm being completely honest with y'all. Let's listen to Brad Arnold announce his stage 4 cancer here.
Hey everybody, it's Brad from Three Doors Down. I hope you're having a great day today. Got some not so good news for you today. And so I'd been sick a couple of weeks ago, and then went to the hospital and got checked out, and had actually got the diagnosis that I had a clear cell renal carcinoma that had metastasized into my lungs. And that's it's stage 4, and that's not real good. But you know what? We serve a mighty God, and He can overcome anything. So I have no fear. I really sincerely am not scared of it at all. But it is gonna force us to cancel our tour this summer, and we're sorry for that. And I'd love for you to lift me up in prayer every chance you get. And I think it's time for me to maybe go listen to Not My Time a little bit, right? Thank you guys so much. God loves you. We love you. See you.
That's tough to watch there, man. You could tell it's taking an effect on him now if you've ever had a conversation with him. I mean, he's got a little hillbilly in him, don't get me wrong, but, you know, it's got an effect on his voice there. And he's kind of a small guy, but he quit drinking years ago. I think he's been sober 5 or 6 years, if not longer. I don't know that he was ever really a drug guy or anything like that. But look, our prayers with Brad and his positivity there in the face of such a terrible disease is really, really encouraging. And whatever you're going through today, just say a prayer and to whatever God you worship. Mine is Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. But to each their own. I saw that, and just the way he handled that with such grace, and I've truly seen without fear that he is content with where he's at in life, and if he moves on to the other side, he knows where he's going, and he's moved. His shows have kind of turned into small sermons, well, not very large sermons, but he's spoken openly in all of his shows about being a Christian and everything the last few years. So he's truly been living his life right, and using his platform for good and positivity. So anyway, that was encouraging, but sad and depressing at the same time. We're really pulling for Brad, and obviously hope he pulls through this. And this time next year, we're packing our bags or getting ready to go see Three Doors Down at the Brandon Amphitheater on their comeback tour. I'm not sure who Creed is going to peg to fill their spot on the summer tour they were last year's summer tour with Creed was such a success. Their co-headlining tour that they were running it back this summer. We'll see who they get to fill in for Three Doors Down. There's no replacing Three Doors Down. They're one of the best rock bands of that era. But who knows, man? Maybe something cool will come from it. As far for the concert viewers, but it won't be the same without those guys out there this summer. I'm glad we got to see them several times. I didn't get to see them together. When Creed came to Brandon, they didn't use Three Doors Down as the opener. Sometimes you'll have that happen where sometimes the opening band's like, we're not going to go open a show there because we can headline there ourselves and we don't want to hurt our value in that market. So Three Doors Down had just played here anyway, but they did do it on the coast, which I thought was weird. But I think that they kind of wanted to do it on the coast because every time they played the Coliseum, they've been the headliner, and you do have to deal with a whole bunch more headache when you're the headliner. They were able to just kind of show up, rock out, and then hang out with friends and family without the stress and anxiety of being the headliner and dealing with all of that comes with that. So I think that's why they did it on the coast. But neither here nor there. I just wanted to open the show with that, and in the negativity and the sadness of the announcement, I thought there was some real positivity there and some hope. So if you're going through anything this morning, just know that there's somebody out there going through something worse, and they've got their head held high, and they're comfortable in whatever happens. So maybe you can pull some positivity and some hope from that. When we come back, we're going to shuffle the deck and get into some more political stuff and some Jackson stuff and whatnot, and do what we do here on the Clay Edwards Show. We're going to throw this positivity out the window, and we're going to go negative. We'll be right back. Did I just come up with a new tagline for them? Hey, so we spent the first segment talking about Brad Arnold's from Three Doors Down, and Mississippi's very own Three Doors Down. Probably, best I know, the biggest selling rock band probably the biggest selling artist from Mississippi ever, sans Elvis Presley. I mean, I can't confirm that off the top of my head, but I mean, I'm trying to think of somebody that didn't have to move away from here to find success. That's the other thing. Three Doors Down did it all from their home base of the coast. They didn't have to move to Nashville. I mean, I'm not knocking anybody that did, by no means, but I'm just saying they were able to do it from the coast and kept the coast as their home base. Is there anybody else that's sold 20, 30 million records worldwide out of Mississippi without having to leave here especially? Nobody comes to mind. I'm sure there's somebody out there in the country realm or something that I'm just not thinking about. But, I mean, it's hard to match the success those guys had. I mean, Kryptonite was huge. Ironically, with all the big news on them yesterday, I finally watched the last 4 or 5 episodes of The Righteous Gemstones last night, yesterday afternoon. What sacrilege. But neither here nor there. It was funny. But there's a scene in there where they're doing karaoke They're like doing and they're in the Wayback Machine. They're doing like a flashback, and they're doing karaoke at the house, and they're singing Kryptonite. But it just tells you how big that song was. One of the biggest shows on TV right now, on cable or whatever, is featuring Three Doors Down. Of all the songs they could have done in that karaoke scene, they did Kryptonite. They're just huge. Like I said, I can't think of anybody that sold more records. If y'all can, let me know. Somebody texted in on the Guns of Gear text line, said B.B. King. I mean, look, for all that B.B. King did, B.B. King didn't sell a whole lot of albums. He never really had a hit. He got songs that you know. But he never really had a hit. At least not in my lifetime. In fairness, not in my lifetime did he have like a radio hit. I mean, blues was never really a radio platform, a radio genre. Past early rock and roll type stuff. I don't know. I don't want to put my foot in my mouth. I know a lot of y'all love all that, and I like blues too. Don't get me wrong. But I just feel like Mississippi's done a piss poor job of really monetizing our musical history here, and we allowed other areas to swagger jack our creations. Memphis in particular. Memphis took advantage of and stole all of Mississippi's musical history and made it theirs. And let's Google it real quick. Let's see here. Now you have to keep in mind, B.B. King also had a much longer career than Three Doors Down has had to date. Let's see here. How many records did B.B. King sell all time? That's going to be hard to track this. All right, so B.B. King estimated to have sold over 40 million records throughout his career. His most successful album, Riding with the King, with Eric Clapton, sold 4.5 million copies worldwide. That's strong. That's strong. That's very strong. Obviously, but I mean, look, B.B. King, legend. Absolute legend. Let's see here. How many records has Three Doors Down sold all time? I think it's around 20, 30 million. I mean, that's a big difference, 20 to 30 million. That's Three Doors. I know Googling stuff sounds terrible on the radio, but we're just having fun this morning. All right, so Three Doors Down has sold over 30 million albums worldwide. Their debut album, The Better Life, was certified 7 times platinum by the RIAA. So their biggest selling album sold almost double what B.B. King's biggest selling album sold. Not bad. Not bad. They've been nominated 3 times for Grammys. So, and look, I'm not trying to be the B.B. King hater here. I love B.B. King. And my point being, there ain't many who have done it as successfully, and dang sure not more successfully, than Three Doors Down. So and they did it here without ever abandoning their Mississippi roots or pretending they weren't from here. You know, sometimes people will move. Somebody said Faith Hill, Jimmy Buffett. Yeah, good, man, good. Thank y'all. My brain ain't working all the way this morning. But a lot of these people move from here, and then they pretend they're from somewhere else. Some even change their names. Nobody at Three Doors Down changed their name. You know, I just look at people a little differently, man. They do some of that. Yeah. I'm reading some of your texts on the Guns of Gear text line. Yeah, I see Faith Hill. Bobby said, "How can I forget about the Soggy Bottom Boys?" Where was my head at? The Soggy Bottom Boys. Somebody said I'm leaving out David Banner. But I was trying to stick to, people who actually play musical instruments and whatnot. Let's see how many records David Banner has sold all the time. Now, David has done very well. I'm not hating here. David's done very well as a producer. But, David left. First off, he uses a fake name. His name's not David Banner. It's Lavelle Crump. He moved from I mean, he even says it in one of his songs. I moved to Atlanta from Jackson, Mississippi. I like David Banner. I love his first album, the Independent album that he first did when he got to Atlanta. His post Crooked Letters album without Kamikaze on it. I think it's one of the best Southern rap albums of all time. And then his first album, Mississippi. Love it. Let's see. How many records has David Banner sold all time? And like I say, you got to remember, like, David has done very well as a producer. Like a lot of T.I.'s early stuff, David did that. So what AI says here is it's difficult to pinpoint the exact number of records David Banner has sold, as sales data is not always publicly available. However, he has released 7 studio albums, and 18 singles. Additionally, he has been noted producer for himself and other artists. I would say, he's probably sold. Yeah, it's like hip hop does way more like single sales than album sales. So I'm not sure, but yeah, Mississippi's got a great musical history. Great musical history. As far as rock bands go, there ain't a rock band from Mississippi that's been bigger than Three Doors Down. There ain't many rock bands from too many places that have been bigger than what Three Doors Down did and has been able to maintain over their 25-year career. And I don't feel like Mississippi gives it back to them like we should. I don't feel like we give – I do, but I don't feel like media in Mississippi gives Three Doors Down the love that they should do. One of the most famous rock stars to ever come out of the state, Brad Arnold, just announced yesterday he had stage 4 cancer. And I ain't seen no WLBT, no BJTV. And I ain't seen none of these people send out a notification talking about it. And it didn't have to be confirmed. He did the video himself and posted it. I'm looking at WLBT.com right now. Nothing about him. Let's take a break. We'll be right back here on The Clay Edwards Show.